afternoon. My name is Scott Rutherford, Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com. Welcome to today's recap and look ahead.
观众朋友们，大家好，欢迎收看今天的直击美股，我是主持人张叔，正在纽约的交易所为您报告今天的节目。我们看到今天的三大股指是又创历史的新高，但事实上，所有的投资人都在想这样的一个问题，就是从宏观基本面上是否有经济数据的支撑，并且本周我们将会面临什么样的经济事件，有可能继续影响本周的股市。而我们看到本周总体来说是属于一个零售业公司公布财报这样一个阶段，其中包括像沃尔玛、像 Target、像 Gap 等等都会公布他们的财报，并且在本周二的时候，我们将会得到非常重要的一个显示当前美国通胀率的经济数据，并且在周三的时候，我们会迎来美联储的上一次的会议纪要。好的，更多的消息，让我们来看一下今天的交易员访谈。Hi Scott, first welcome back.
Oh, thanks for welcoming me back.
Yeah, well, today we saw the market hit new record highs, and actually, from the fundamental point of view, is we have this mixed news. So, how do you think about it? Do you think that today's rally is really solid?
I think for the last 3 months, that's every question that's been asked, right? We heard sell in May and go away, which didn't happen. Yep. We heard, okay, now it's earnings season. Is it going to derail the rally? It didn't. And then oil went from 50 to 40, was in a bear market for 2 days, and that didn't. And then you had, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and a bunch of hedge fund guys say sell in August. So now here we are at August 15th, and we're at all-time highs. So let's just continue to watch the market action. And when the stock market or the indices are above the 8 and 21-day moving average, you try and be constructive, you try and be long, and you look for signals if it falters. You look here at the S&P cash, you will see, remember this 2-year range that we took out that nobody believed it could be sustained? Well, this rally was reborn, in my opinion, right here. Why right there? Because we talk about the 8 and 21-day moving average. So the S&P reclaimed the 8 and 21-day moving average right here at 2093, then took out the 2-year range, and then it's been pretty much grinding along. Ooh, little failure at the 8-day into the 21-day and continued. So at this particular point, ride the trend until it changes, and at this point, it's above both of these momentum moving averages. So I would try and stay constructive on the market because lots of stocks are on the move.
Well, part of the reason that pushing today's market higher is because of oil. Oil is like traded above 45. So how do you think about oil? Because it used to be a laggard of the market, right?
Right. Well, remember last week before I went to Mexico,
yep.
Everyone was so worried. Oil went into a bear market. It went below 40. But I'm like, okay, guys, oil went from 25 to 51. Why can't it pull back a little bit? So the reason why this market is being sustained to the upside is because of the rotation. How do we find a bottom in oil or oil stocks? Well, look at the XLE. What a beautiful red dog reversal. You might say, what's a red dog reversal? Well, I'll tell you. Okay, well, here we had a problem getting through 70. Remember that? Boom, came in. Then right here, red dog reversal. Traded below a prior low of 64.93, put a low in that day of 64.57, reclaimed it. You could have bought it right here for a trade, okay? Held a third, because that's what we do, and waited for it to get above this high, and boom, you had a nice 3-day move. And now what is it? Back above the 8-day and the 21-day, and at some point, looks like the XLE is going to take this out. And why do I think that's kind of interesting? Because, look where it came from. Okay, and now for the first time, oil names are above the 200-day moving average and look a little bit more constructive long-term besides the short-term trade that I showed you with the red dog reversal.
Well, the interesting thing is when you're away, you're still making money because you make good trades.
Doesn't happen often.
Okay, but you do make good trades under the names like Apple, Alibaba, and also there's a new name for our audiences, which is ACIA, right? So would you like to elaborate more on these topics?
Well, you could trade for cash flow or you could try and hold swing trades. So when Apple reported good numbers, they said, hey, Apple's under-owned. You have a big gap up after earnings, so I'm going to trade this stock, and I'm also going to buy September 105 calls so I could sit in it. And ever since then, Apple's been looking really good. So you could trade it, and you could own calls, and you could even sit in the stock. And here's when the downtrend broke. What's a downtrend mean? High, lower high, lower high. Uh-oh. If you're short here, you got to cover. And what'd you have? A big, exciting gap up that took back the 200 days. So since then, it's been trending very well. And the target that I put out right around here was 108 to 112. And you did get a pause last week. And now you have a nice little bull flag that I got above. And here you are, 112. I do think it's doable. Maybe even with Berkshire Hathaway upping its stake, it could be sooner than later. And then BABA, remember it was on the do not touch list for a while, but it's because it took so much time to consolidate and rebuild. So with that being said, what's a consolidation? It's institutions buying stock, and that's what happened in here. And then you had a nice pattern, and first buy was when it cleared this 81, And then when it cleared 85, so I went away to Mexico and said, you know what? I think if the earnings deliver, we could see 95 or above, and we're above it. So the options, the 85s and 88s, were great for the community, for the note, and for me, it helped pay for some extra mojitos and margaritas and then some. But anyway, looks good. Maybe it gets to 105. It could use a little bit of time.
Well, VIX is traded under 13 and around 12 actually, but there's a research showing that every time when it's under 13 for over 1.5 months, it will bounce back and the volatility will spike. So how do you think about this, and how will our investors make better use of VIX?
Basically, people have been, if you're overly focusing on the VIX, you're missing out on everything else that's going on in the stock market. If you have a huge portfolio, huge, you may want to buy some VIX while it's cheap, because it's always cheaper before a potential flood. So if you want insurance before a storm, which hasn't hit yet, then you go out, you buy a little bit of it now, so when it spikes, it could be a decent hedge versus your portfolio.
好的，感谢您收看我们今天的节目，我们下期再见。